All right, welcome. We are open for virtual lunch in the Exhibit Marketers Cafe. So, thank you to everybody who's joining us today. This is our first time to actually go live on both Facebook and YouTube. So, it'll be interesting to see how many people we have and maybe have like a little race to see who's got the most joining us from which platform. But I know there were a lot of people who, or not a lot, but there were some people who are anti-Facebook. So now that I have upgraded my program with StreamYard, so I now can stream on two platforms at once. So we thought, why not? Let's give it a try and see what happens. So anyway, so welcome wherever you are joining us from. So, please go ahead, introduce yourself. And this should be interesting because it should show us in the comments when it pops up, which platform everybody's joining in from. So anyway, new things today in the virtual lunch, but we've been at this for almost 2 months now. We started at the end of March and we've been doing it every Tuesday. And I appreciate everybody who's been joining us. I know we've got some regulars who come just about every week. So anyway, we are very appreciative of everybody who participates. And even if you don't participate in the comments, just being here and just being a part of the community, we want to make sure you feel very welcome and that you walk away with things that you've learned. So while we're waiting for everybody to kind of get on, I thought, early on, one of our sessions we did talked about recommended reading. And so I wanted to kind of go back and revisit a little bit. I finally, one of my library books that I've had like on hand, try to get it so it's not glaring here, these lovely plastic covers. Indistractable by Nir Eyal. So I've had this, for 2-3 months now. It's actually going to be officially due on June 1st, so I got to really finish reading it. But anyway, this has been on my to read list for a while. This is actually how to control your attention and choose your life. And he talks about how distractions can be either internal or external, and how to learn to manage that and to be more in control of your own life. So anyway, if you're like me and you have a tendency to squirrel, it's a good resource for that. So that's one that I'm reading. And then on the, I guess you could say the other side of my life, a lot of you may not know, Alan and I, my husband, Alan, who's joining us behind the scenes, he's the tech person. He'll be putting some links up in the comments later as we go along. But we have a tea business and we cook with tea. And so we actually teach cooking classes, both in person. Well, we did and online. But we're definitely foodies. And so we love to study different kinds of books. And we're actually leading an online Tea and Foodies book club. And so our current selection in the Tea and Foodies book club is, I am just not good at this reverse thing. Okay, so this is Flavor Flowers. And so these are all, I think, if I remember right, I think everything in here is gluten-free, so that's a good thing. But it's like teff, buckwheat, sorghum, nut flours, all kinds of things. So you can see all the little flags. We've been trying out some different recipes from there. So it's a really, really cool book. And it's just, here, I can show you. It's just a really beautiful book, too. I mean, lots of great photos. Whoops. So anyway, but that again is called Flavor Flowers. Wow. I really got to work on this. It's coordination. Okay. So let's see who we got. Tina, welcome. Tina from Large Printing. Tina's one of our regulars. She's here just about every week. So welcome back. So anybody else, if you want, go ahead and comment. And let's see, what else have I got? Oh, yes, I definitely want to. Another thing I want to share with you, we've got coming up. And, I was going to talk about what are you doing in your spare time, but I'm reminded of the comment anybody watched Downton Abbey of Granny Violet. When somebody says something about the weekend, Granny says, "What is a weekend?" I don't really know. So I've been really busy lately working on the virtual event Trailblazers Summit, which is coming up next week. So I want to just share with you. This is, oops, let's hide that so you can see the dates. So coming up next week, and I'm very excited because we're going to be featuring a number of different shows and events and what they've done to make the switch to virtual this year. So you're going to hear from Persona Fest, Modex 365, Coverings Connected, and the Arizona Dental Association. And we may even have another surprise bonus guest here. So anyway, but so that's coming up next week. Let me put the link up for that. So there is the link where you can go learn all about it and get signed up. And I'm very excited. It's been a huge amount of work, but we've got some fantastic examples, and you will learn so much from everybody involved in the summit. So looks like we've got another comment here. Hey, Vince, welcome from the trade show calendar. So glad that you were able to join us today. So it's nice to have people hopping in and sharing their comments. So I will put that back up. So as you come on, just go ahead and feel free to post in the comments. But what I want to kind of focus on today is talking about where we go from here, moving into the reopening stage. And the good news is there are some countries that are already starting to reopen. As I mentioned last week, the Hunan Auto Show took place in China last week. And I haven't been able to find very much online, but supposedly they had over 62,000 visitors, which I am just amazed considering all the, what do I want to say? The challenges of actually attending the show. And if you go back to last week's archive of the virtual lunch, you'll see the link to a couple of articles about all the different things they were going to have to do with the temperature checks and ID cards and all those kinds of things. But anyway, so they had a successful show. The MBC Construction Expo just ended yesterday in Korea. And of course, it's too soon. I haven't seen any reports on how that one went, but that will be interesting to follow that. And then according to UFI or UFI, however you want to say it, the Global Exhibition Association, they said that German trade shows could start up as soon as May 30th. So they have outlined a plan. In fact, there is, Alan, if you could put up that link for the UFI framework for reopening, that link to a PDF, they've actually put together a complete report on suggested reopening structures. So Alan's going to put that up in the comments. I'll broadcast that in a minute here. They also, and then also after that, Alan, there's also a number of webinars that they've been doing. So here's the link first to the PDF. And so it's really interesting to see what the post-pandemic world of trade shows is possibly going to look like. So that's one resource. And then, like I said, and if you don't get this, I know most of these links are crazy long. They'll be in the comments on Facebook, and then I'll also go back over and add them on the YouTube replay as well. And then here's the link to their list of webinars that they've been doing. So they've had a lot of different perspectives, and they've got some other webinars coming up as well. The Events Industry Council is also putting together a recovery task force. So we've got a link for that as well. Alan will put that up. But there's a lot of different industry associations and organizations coming together to try to define what the world is going to look like for us going forward, because we don't know how long things are going to have all these special restrictions and accommodations and just what it's going to be or what the timeline's going to look like. Okay, well, we've got a different one here. This is another association or another organization of where a number of different associations are coming together. This is Go Live Together. So that's another good resource. There's actually one, Alan, that's the Event Industry Council. Hopefully I gave you that one. But that's another one where I think it's just a news release where they're putting together a task force. Okay, here we go. Yeah, so this is the Business Recovery Task Force. So these are all good resources to go check out and just kind of see what's coming, what is being discussed. I think some of the upcoming webinars that UFI's going to do is also going to outline that. And then another interesting thing that I saw is the Global Biorisk Advisory Council, or GBAC, I guess is what they're calling it. And I'm not sure from what I was reading if this was something that already existed and they're like kind of just adding in the post-pandemic. But Alan, there's also a link for that one. The Global Biorisk Advisory Council, they're going to do a certification. And I think it's it's kind of along the lines of the LEED certification of buildings, sustainability of buildings. I think it's kind of that kind of thought process, only it's going to be certification of the cleanliness and the disinfection of a facility. So the Las Vegas Convention Center, McCormick Place in Chicago, Orange County Convention Center in Orlando, Hyatt Resorts, there's a number of different venues who have signed on for this. So it's going to cover things like proper cleaning procedures, training for the staff. Let's see what else. Different PPE and tools and all of those kinds of things. So it's going to be a very stringent set of guidelines, and then venues will qualify for this certification. So it'll be real interesting to see how that moves forward, and how the venues who take advantage of this are really going to promote themselves as being a different level of confidence, safety, how people will react to that. All right, so let's see. So, and also there's a list. Alan, you've got a link there that's a list of rescheduled shows. And this is from the trade show calendar. If you've been having a hard time keeping track of who's been rescheduled to when, I know I started out on Trade Show Insights on my blog. I was trying to keep a running list of mentioning when the different shows were moving to, and it just, forget it. It got too complicated. But here it is. Again, kind of a long, awkward address. But if you want to kind of keep track, it's a good place to go look at all the shows that are coming up. Fall is going to get really full, really challenging. If you're in the industry and you end up, if you're a service provider and you end up working with a lot of these different shows, fall is really going to be heavy, which on that, iMeet has been doing a survey, an ongoing survey. And right now they're asking about when people think shows will be reopening. And right now the leading answer is Q4. 31.43% last I looked were saying they thought that it would be in Q4. So, October through the end of the year may get a little crazy. 73% of the people taking the survey believe that shows will resume by year's end. The rest of the people are either not too confident or believe it'll be next year. So, anyway, it's going to be interesting to see how things move forward. And, a big part of that is going to be all of this, cleaning and disinfecting and how people will be protected. Alan, go ahead and put up that link to the supply chain article. This article, it's very long, but it's very fascinating. It's, like I said, it's written for supply chain and manufacturing, but the things that they talk about are really going to apply across the board. The article is about what the work world will look like what returning to work will look like in offices, cafes, and factories around the world. Okay, that's the title. But, they talk about things like having barriers everywhere. And you've seen how, they're starting to put up barriers like for restaurants. I know Tina's here. I know Large Printing has been doing a lot of different like banners and things. I saw a great example of you guys doing like the clear plastic between tables at restaurants and things like that. On that, I saw it was kind of interesting and different, and I don't know, but there's a cafe in, was it France or Spain? I can't remember, but they had like little mini greenhouses. It was, they had the outdoor seating and along the river or whatever, and so they had like these little. I don't have the link for that, sorry, but they looked like little mini greenhouses that would like seat 4 people at one table. And so that was kind of interesting. I told Alan, it's like, it looks good until it gets hot outside. I don't think I'd want to be in there. But anyway, so there's all kinds of interesting things for dividers. I know some of you in the trade show industry that do exhibit design displays. I know you're doing a lot of different kinds of innovative divider walls, separations, either clear plexi or, fun graphic divider walls. I've seen a lot of different examples out there. So barriers is going to be one thing. As far as events, buffets, I think are probably gone. I can't see how that would work. I've also seen in the restaurant industry, they're talking about self-serve drinks are gone. So you think about all these restaurants you've been going to that have the big fancy pants. Like at Wendy's, they have the Coca-Cola, I forget what it's called, the stream thing that you can choose all your different flavors and blend your own. And those are probably gone. Convenience store self-serve drinks. Not sure how they're going to handle that. But anyway, so lots of that kind of stuff. And then daily temperature checks, as far as events, having temperature checks as people come in. But as we've heard, that doesn't necessarily catch 100% of the people that are contagious. So, and floor signs, back to the whole idea of dividers and distancing, the floor signs to, mark places, either like tape on the floor or signs like don't cross this line or whatever, those kinds of things. Touchless service, any kind of thing that you can do that's going to be touchless where, you don't have to type things on a kiosk. Back to the restaurant world again, you probably have noticed a lot of fast food places have recently gone to having the big kiosks where you place the order yourself. Well, they just spent all that money to put all those in, and now it's probably not a real good idea. So it's going to be really interesting to see how things change. Let's see what else. Oh, and the other thing as far as the work world was interesting. They said cafeterias may be replaced with vending machines because people don't want to go eat in a communal space. So, and again, that comes back to trade shows. Think about how many trade shows and conferences have like the big, cafeteria area on the show floor where you go and everybody gets their food and sits and eats. So, it'll be interesting. I don't know. I don't have the answers. I've heard a lot of really interesting ideas proposed. So it'll be interesting to see how all of these different, councils and different organizations that are working on this end up pulling it all together. Let's see, as far as my links here. But yeah, the basic thing is, I think that what all of this means is events are going to have to be compelling in order to make people want to attend, because you've got so many factors at play. People have been sheltering for so long and they feel safe, and do they really want to get out, and especially travel? We haven't even got into, at least not this week, we haven't talked about the travel issues of, what the airlines are doing to try to make people feel safe, and, how are they going to distance people on planes so they don't feel at risk? But you've got the travel aspect. You've got, people at the hotels having to deal with the elevators, and well, at the convention centers too, dealing with elevators and being in close proximity to people, all those kinds of issues. So if somebody really is going to travel and go to a show, it has to really be compelling and really make them want to attend. And I heard someone say that just like how the virus attacks and is hardest on the people with underlying conditions, I think that's going to also be true for people for shows, trade shows as well, because, if the show or the event was already having underlying issues, this is just going to just magnify all of that and make it that much more difficult for that event to return. So it really will be kind of a survival of the fittest, I think, going forward. We saw all of these shows from spring that got canceled or some of them got postponed, but it'll be interesting to see how a lot of these missing shows, I guess, this year come back next year. A lot of them will come back. You'll hear on the virtual event Trailblazer Summit how some of them are now incorporating, they're going to add in the virtual element going forward as well and be more of a blended event. Some shows, they may not be able to make a comeback next year, unfortunately. Or there may be shows that end up combining, events that combine because they can't go it alone anymore. So it'll be interesting. I don't really know what the answer is. Tina says we're seeing a lot of demand for items like these, so we'll have to go check that out. But I know some of the things that, because I'm on Tina's newsletter, so I know some of the things we've talked about is the floor signage, the window signage, the dividers. So yeah, it's going to be a whole new world out there when we all get back out in the world. I know for some people, they've still been going to work and getting out there. We actually looked, what was it, Alan? I think we saw that we'd gone 150 miles in our car in 2 months. And he gets out with his truck and drives it every once in a while just because it hasn't gone anywhere. But this year has been, it's been like living in a movie, don't you think? It's just, I feel like I'm in the plot of a movie. I mean, we're Doctor Who fans, so I keep waiting for the TARDIS to show up because it's such a bizarre situation. But anyway, it's, we'll see where we go from here. One other thing I want to put up there is I keep forgetting to talk about this on all of our virtual lunches, but on Wednesdays we do a expo chat on Twitter, and it's sponsored by TSNN, but there's a number of us who are moderating. I'm one of the 6 moderators, and we do a different topic every Wednesday. So if you want to join in on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern, that's another opportunity to talk. And I should have double checked. I'm not sure what this week's topic is. I'm not moderating, but every week there's a different topic. And obviously lately it's all been revolving around a lot of these same kinds of issues that we've talked about. But so that's another resource. And then I just want to put up again the link to the virtual event Trailblazer Summit, which is coming up next week. So if you've been curious about virtual, if you've got an event coming up and you're not quite sure, how it's going to look in the real world, and you want to add that virtual element, this is going to be a great opportunity to learn from some of the show organizers that have already been there, done that. So anyway, I'm going to hop back over to comments and see if we've got anything else coming in here. I'm also going to double check, make sure I went through all my links that I wanted to make sure I shared with you today. I don't see any other comments. I really want to thank you guys. I know that, it's a crazy, crazy time out there. And there's a lot of stuff going on in everybody's life. And I appreciate you taking time out to be here for the virtual lunch. And I just want to thank you for that. And I will look forward to seeing you next week for virtual lunch on Tuesday. And then Wednesday and Thursday is the virtual event Trailblazer Summit. So And just reach out to me if you have any other questions or anything in the meantime, or if there's a topic you want to see addressed at next week's virtual lunch. But I think we will go ahead and wrap it up for today. And again, thank you and have a great week, everybody.